All right, let's do this. Go live. Okay. What's up, everyone? Checking everything out, trying to work all of this out as I do this. Really exciting. Trying to leave everything up and get it all organized. So really excited here. Thank you guys for joining me. We have the box blueprint number 2 coming at you. And today we are going to break down some of the game clips from Josh Byrne. Particularly, we're going to talk about his dodging and we're going to talk about his shooting. And so I'm really excited about this. These are high-level breakdowns. I really hope to give you guys a lot of value while you're watching this. Jump in the chat. Let me know you're in there. I see you, Armaze. You bought a box net today, man. Go. The big thing here, you got to take the whole top net down, man. Go shoot it and rip that thing up. Go get tons and tons of work on that. I love it. All right, go Bandits. Love that too. So we're going to get right into this, and I want to break down this first dodge. So I'm going to play this out, and then we can kind of rewind this and go from there. I see you. I see you, Salty. I see you. That's my boy right there. Okay, so we're going to play this out.
Slot area.
Okay, and what I want you guys to look at is how Byrne catches this. Okay, so when we rewind and we check this clip out, okay, what we're going to notice is we're going to notice that Byrne is going to be in this back left corner. He's going to catch this ball. He's going to drag his man up and then take his man under, and that is just an insane shot. But I want to highlight this for a second of what's going on here and what's making that so valuable, right? So when he catches this ball, he's in a little bit of a tough spot, and I want to point out why. So when he catches this ball, this defender, let me get into my annotation. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Okay, there we go. Work. Where are you? Why are you not working? Okay, well, that's not working. So we're gonna move on from that. But look, when he catches this ball, his defender is sloughed in, and you can't really go anywhere from this position. If Byrne tries to take his man underneath from right here, his man has the angle and will shuffle down low and just take that whole under route away. And Byrne can't really go over the top here in this position because his defender can shuffle to the right and maintain that angle. So that kind of leaves Byrne with taking a shot. But if you notice, this is a perfect point to freeze at. Byrne this defender is sitting directly in Byrne's shooting lane with his stick. You can see it very clearly. So Byrne doesn't really have any options from this position to actually shoot the ball. So what does he do? He decides to move a little down, a little up, and this is freeze his hands up. And at the same time, you see Kluche kind of diving through here, cutting down the floor, and that allows him to drag and manipulate his defender. Okay, so his defender has to come up, and then it allows him to go underneath, right? This happens so fast, so we'll watch it in real time. Okay, Kluche carries over. I believe that's Kluche. The ball comes back to Byrne. Doesn't have anything. Drags him up. Split release underneath. Okay. And that is just such a beautiful play. The simplicity of it, of him to see that, recognize it, and get underneath. That's why he's one of the best lacrosse players in the world. But what I want to focus on is when he catches this ball and see how he's landing. Look at his feet. Look at how wide his legs are in this moment. This is giving him the ability to attack both underneath and over the top. And I have to tell you, I work with so many athletes on this split release dodge. It's one of my favorite dodges for any athlete to really know how to execute at a high level. I think this is great for youth athletes, like first through fifth grade. One of the easiest ways to learn how to dodge is just practice a split release. But what's really important about this, I see you, Ainsley. Hi, right back in the chat. What's really important about this split release is you don't want to do it the typical way a football player would do this split release, where you spread your legs out wide and then that left foot would immediately come through to take space and get moving in that direction. Instead, what Byrne does is he takes what we call a negative step, where he's going to take a little step forward with that right foot, and he's not really going anywhere. So that's what we call it a negative step, because typically when you move in sports, you want to take space on the floor, on the field. And if you don't go anywhere, it's a negative step. So when Byrne takes this negative step, it actually positions him to drive underneath at the angle he wants. Now, he clearly beats his defender. His defender has to take a really big drop step to stay with him. So you can't see the contact that he's creating and how he's driving into his man if he needed to. But in other plays, you can see this, where he takes that negative step with the right foot and it allows him to drive his left foot forward into that space. And it's really hard to stop. So I'm going to play this out for you from this position. Okay, you see him go underneath. You see that footwork. Check out his footwork again. Okay, watch how wide he gets. And then watch that negative step. Here it is, right foot, left foot, go. And then he gets this beautiful goal, right? So I want to go over how to train that with you guys in just a minute. But for right now, we're going to kind of move on, and we need to talk about why he's able to do that. Now, Byrne is able to drag his man and put his man in this slough position, right? This position right here, where the defender should be worried about approaching. And the reason the defender should be worried about approaching is because of how dynamic of a dodger Byrne is. But what makes it so difficult to guard him is how good he is at outside shooting as well, right? So I have a couple clips here. We'll just kind of let them play through. Okay, so you can see, here's the under move again. Now check this rip out, right? Look at this cannon. And he puts it in the top corner. I don't know if you guys can clearly see that. But look at this shot. He puts it right in the top corner and down. Deceptive shot. Now, check this one out. Same shot, but there's a little hitch in it. Did you guys see that? Okay, I'm going to go back. It's the same shot that he's making, right? It's this big step down crank, but he actually pauses halfway through his shot, and you can see it. There's that little hitch. It's really fast. It's really fast, but you can see that right as he catches this ball, he kind of hitches before he lets it go. And that's what makes this so deceptive. And I want to talk about how we can work on that mechanic, because this is such like an underrated mechanic to think about. When we teach shooting, whenever I teach it, I always want my athletes to be very robotic when they're first learning these movements. So I always talk about timing your release with your footsteps. So as that lead leg plants in the ground, that's when your hands should start to release and snap over at the net. But throwing a wrench into that entire rotation by just stopping for a second during that shot can create a hitching motion and make it harder for that goalie to track the ball, right? So I want to give you guys a couple different ways you can work on these concepts now on your own. So I'm going to let this play through. So when you get out here, here we go. So when you get out, I love the Josh Byrne signature there, this is one of the first ways I teach split releases. Really simple way to go about this is you start by lining up at your cone. You're going to get into a really solid starting position, and you can just jump and spread your legs out land, and get underneath. Okay. Really simple, really easy way. And you can start to focus on that footwork. And you can see when I take this footwork here, when I land, I'm going to take that negative step and then I'm going to drive through with that right leg. Now, that one's pretty simple. A really easy way to get a lot of reps at this on every shot is we can set up a little 3-cone variation. So there are 3 cones and then a little gap, and then 3 cones and then a little gap, and then 3 cones. All we do is just split release at those gaps. Okay, that's going to help you get those mechanics. And then you see me driving over the top, taking a shot. Same thing. I'm really working on driving, and I get into a set shot. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before. I'm a huge fan of these choppy steps because it's going to increase your activity in your hip flexors and your glutes and make you just drive your knees a little faster so you can be a little bit more athletic. Okay. So working on those dodging mechanics, the thing that separates Burn and his ability is that ability to go both over the top and underneath. So you want to be practicing these variations going both underneath and over the top whenever you're training and you work on these different shots. Now, I want to go over that hitch because that hitch that we were just looking at with his shot is what's so dangerous and hard to guard. So I have these little drills lined up, okay? So here's the first one. Now, everybody has seen this drill. Most coaches that do any sort of shooting work on Instagram or TikTok, they show this drill, this little snapping drill, okay? When you first start, this is a great way to introduce this hitch into your shot. All you have to do is start your rotation and then stop it and then start it again. So it'll feel kind of funny, okay? And you'll feel like you're falling forward a little bit on that release. But as you watch Burn's shot, you realize his body is moving and his hands aren't. So we're really working on just stepping and shooting. Now, this is the second part of the variation. So we had our toes pointed at the net. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn ourselves sideways. Okay, and we'll take a little step and we'll just practice the choppy mechanics of that hitch. Okay, you can see a couple different variations. I'm starting to get more comfortable with it. Then I start crow hopping into this and I'm playing with that release. Okay, and then finally, okay, I don't know if you can hear the audio. That was a beautiful shot, but then I'm running into this a little bit more, getting more crow hops, and you can see me kind of falling into that shot. These shooting mechanics, these dodging mechanics will greatly improve your game. And they're things that you want to work on constantly when you're training. Now, how I would go about this if I were you guys, as far as training this on your own, is I would say to go get your hitching, your shot mechanics in first. So getting your toes pointed at the net, ripping shots and working on adding that hitch into your shot. Then you're going to turn yourself sideways to the net like you would normally when you would shoot. You'll take that step with that hitch mechanic. Then you'll add the crow hop. Then you'll add the multiple crow hops. And what the idea behind starting with your shot is we want to start to lock in on our accuracy. We want to feel, we want to get into that rhythm. We want to figure out how our stick is releasing. And we want to, dial in those mechanics. Then afterwards, you can add in dodging variations with those split release mechanics. So the starting point for that would be the single hop into that split release. And then you can go underneath or over the top, and you can work on any sort of shots that you want to work on. You can work on any sort of, secondary dodges with that as well. And you just start to kind of play with it. And then you can add those 3-cone, 3 split release variation where you're getting those choppy steps in there and really practicing being really fundamentally strong with your movements, right? we want to be fast. We want to be explosive. We want to be crisp when we're doing these things. And we also want to be under control, right? We don't want to be flying around. We want to be manipulating our defenders. And if you need to if you want a little bit of background on what that means, go watch Jeff Teat play and watch how he plays lacrosse in like second gear until he needs to get into that next gear. He's going to stay in that second gear and then gradually increase it as he needs to, right? So you're working on being crisp. You're working on adding those hitches into your shot. I really hope you guys enjoy this. I see my boy Cudmore just jumped in here. Thank you guys all for joining. We'll be posting more of these. I'm going to do another one tomorrow. I think around 12, I'll put an announcement up before I jump in. And if you want to view this again, DM me and I can send you the link. All right. Signing out. See you guys later.